Hello, this is Macy Pickering, presentation 18 for Lit 140 about Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Today I'm going to take you on a quick journey through an interesting quirk of American geography, the story of how the Upper Peninsula, or the UP, became part of Michigan rather than Wisconsin, or even Canada. Many people consider Michigan to be mitten-shaped land, completely disregarding the fact that the Upper Peninsula is there, a forested land just separated by water. At first glance, one would assume the UP belonged to Wisconsin, as they're completely connected by land, and Michigan's separated by the Great Lakes, but it's still part of Michigan. We'll come to learn that it's not about geography, it's about politics, compromise, and luck. We will start by rewinding all the way back to the early 1800s. As we can see on this map, Michigan wasn't its own state in the early 1800s. Instead, it was part of the Northwest Territory, which includes modern-day states Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. The Northwest Territory was founded after the American Revolution, but the territory was later split into three smaller territories known as the Indiana Territory, Illinois Territory, and Michigan Territory. Fast forward to the year 1830, Michigan no longer wanted to be considered a territory and was ready to become its own state. Michigan drew out their borders, but there was quickly a dispute with Ohio over this small strip of land called the Toledo Strip. You're probably asking yourself, what's so great about this 8-mile wide, 50-mile long, small strip of land? The Toledo Strip was perfect, fertile soil for agriculture and farming, and it even had a port on Lake Erie, which made importing and exporting possible. It got so heated that both states sent militias to the border, getting ready for war. There were no casualties or any major damage, but this would be known as the Toledo War. In fear of the war becoming more violent or the dispute getting any worse, President Andrew Jackson, who you might better know as the guy on the $20 bill, had Congress step in to help settle their disagreement. In 1836, Congress finally presented a compromise to Michigan. The compromise was that Ohio would get the Toledo Strip and they would get the westernmost part of the Upper Peninsula, as previously it had been part of the Wisconsin Territory. At the time, this seemed like a really bad trade for Michigan. They had lost the Toledo area that had farmland and a port, and in return, got in lands that was seen as remote, cold, and full of worthless wilderness. Michigan's delegates were absolutely furious. One even called the UP a region of perpetual snows. But after months and months of debate, and under pressure to finally achieve statehood, Michigan reluctantly accepted the compromise. So in 1836, Michigan reluctantly made the choice to become the 26th state of the U.S. What seemed like a bad deal at the time turned out to be a massive win for Michigan. Only a few years later, surveyors discovered that the Upper Peninsula was incredibly rich in natural resources. The Keweenaw Peninsula became one of the world's leading copper producers, whereas places such as Iron Mountain and Marquette became centers for iron mining. And lumber operations fueled growth throughout the entire Upper Peninsula region. The wealth from these three industries helped power Michigan's economy for decades, so what was once considered a frozen wasteland quickly became a very vital part of the state's industrial base. Meanwhile, the people back in the Wisconsin Territory were not thrilled to see Michigan prosper. They lost the Upper Peninsula just 2 years before they became a state themselves, in the year 1848. Now they were left to wonder if that would be their land if the Toledo War had never occurred. It appears funny on the map, but had the Toledo War never happened, it's very likely the Upper Peninsula would have ended up as part of Wisconsin. Or it could have possibly remained sparsely settled territory between the two states. So thinking back, Michigan really owes its other half entirely to that strange political compromise that occurred in 1836. Now let's fast forward back to 2025. Today we can see that the UP remains an incredibly rural place, making up only 3% of Michigan's entire population, despite being over a quarter of its land area. It's a place defined by nature, culture, and independence. Nowadays, the UP is known for its stunning natural beauty, being home to hundreds of waterfalls, lots of dense forest, and 1,700 miles of shoreline. It's also a known place for great outdoor recreation, such as hiking, snowmobiling, hunting, and skiing. The UP is also known for its unique culture. When the mines first opened in the mid 1800s, thousands of workers came from around the world. They brought with them their languages, foods, and traditions, shaping the region's character in ways that still remain visible today. The UP has developed a strong independent identity. Locals proudly call themselves Upers, a nickname derived from Upeers. They have a distinct accent influenced by Finnish and Scandinavian speech patterns, and they often refer to people from the Lower Peninsula of Michigan as trolls, meaning those who live below the Mackinac Bridge. Despite being remote, the UP still has a strong identity. They are self-reliant and proud of their differences from those who live in the Lower Peninsula. So to sum it up, the Upper Peninsula became part of Michigan because of the Toledo War, given to Michigan for compensation for losing Toledo, and it turned out to be one of the richest and most distinctive regions in the country. So what started as a political accident ended up defining Michigan's geography, economy, and identity.